Do not attempt to remain in the United States. The federal government will find you. Please depart the United States immediately.
There's a lot of people that are perfectly within their rights to stay here and are being told to leave, and a lot of people don't know the difference.
The federal government is threatening to find this U.S. citizen if she remains in the U.S. And she's right. Some people don't actually know their rights.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio,
Tumwa, Iowa.
Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, this is Ashley with Status Coup News. I have been here my whole life, says a Massachusetts immigration lawyer, Nicole Micharoni, after she received an email from the Department of Homeland Security on April 11th, so just a few days ago, instructing her to self-deport within 7 days. Micharoni, a U.S. citizen, was born and raised in Massachusetts and currently lives in Boston. She is a citizen of this country. So Boston 5 local news aired an interview with Micharoni yesterday. So I'm going to show you guys a little part of it.
I get emails from ICE, I get emails from DHS about different clients.
As a Boston immigration attorney, Nicole Micharoni gets lots of emails, but this one is different. The first line from Homeland Security says, "It is time for you to leave the United States." You're as American as apple pie.
I am. Yes, I've been here my whole life.
Micharoni was born at Newton Wellesley Hospital, grew up in Sharon, and educated at Wellesley College.
I think in my case, I'm lucky because I do have a passport, I have a birth certificate. Both show that I am a U.S. citizen and I am not somebody that needs to leave.
Okay, so that was a little of Micharoni talking about her background of just living here. So again, she was born here, she's a citizen of the U.S., and she was sent a deportation notice asking her to self-deport. I don't know where she would actually self-deport to, considering that she is a citizen of the US. The notice that she received by email states, DHS is terminating your parole. Do not attempt to remain in the United States. The federal government will find you, which is fucking terrifying, no matter what your immigration status might actually be. And so in this case, parole actually refers to humanitarian parole. So humanitarian parole allows someone to both enter and stay in the US for urgent humanitarian reasons. So even if they wouldn't, whoever receives this wouldn't qualify for a visa or other kind of like legal entry, they would be able to enter and stay in the country under humanitarian parole. So it's usually used for things like medical emergencies, family reunification in exceptional situations, to assist in some kind of like investigations, and for individuals who are fleeing violence or some kind of natural disaster. So I'm going to play a little bit more of this video.
Nicole says she knows other immigration attorneys who received the same email. She has many clients with deportation issues, but they aren't the only ones calling her office.
We've gotten calls from U.S. citizens that are afraid to travel, permanent residents, people on other types of visas. Everybody is just really worried that the immigration crackdown is going to impact them.
That was, again, the immigration lawyer who was sent a deportation notice. This is just insane. I don't know how the administration would think that antagonizing U.S. citizens is going to help make their case for illegally deporting people who are here on student visas and permanent residents with green cards. I am pretty sure that there is a frequently quoted saying about what happens when you sort of turn a blind eye to other marginalized groups because you don't think it can ever happen to you. It would be something I think to maybe keep in mind right now. So I'm going to play a little bit more from this video from Boston 5.
Back at her law office, Nicole Micharoni keeps looking at the last line in the letter she got from Homeland Security. Do not attempt to remain in the United States. The federal government will find you. Please depart the United States immediately.
There's a lot of people that are perfectly within their rights to stay here and are being told to leave, and a lot of people don't know the difference.
So again, the federal government is threatening to find this U.S. citizen if she remains in the U.S. And she's right. Some people don't actually know their rights. She's an immigration lawyer and is well-versed, assumably, in immigration law. I'm going to guess that most people are not. I certainly am not. If I received something like that, I think I would probably be pretty shaken. According to DHS, Micharoni was actually sent this notice in error. So the Boston Globe reported on this story this morning. So here is the Boston Globe article. Do not attempt to remain in the United States. DHS mistakenly tells Boston lawyer to self-deport. So the Boston Globe article says, the message was not intended for her, the Department of Homeland Security said in a statement, but it was also not a scam. Rather, it was a product of the Trump administration's efforts to deport hundreds of thousands of migrants allowed in the country under Biden-era initiatives that granted them temporary permission to live and work in the United States. The piece goes on to say, authorities recently issued a wave of parole terminations by email. Sarah Sherman Stokes, the associate director of the Immigration Rights and Human Trafficking Clinic at Boston University School of Law, said, she said the email notices appeared to be trafficking asylum seekers who used the CPB-1 app, a Biden-era program that allowed migrants to schedule appointments to enter the country and await asylum hearings. Citizens could have received those emails by mistake if an immigrant listed their email as contact information, a senior DHS official said in a statement. So it would seem that instead of treating this incredibly serious issue that can completely upend someone's life and that of their family, DHS under the Trump administration is just sending out those deportation notices and emails without any kind of double checking, just to make sure they actually have the right email address. The DNC and every other store that I purchased a single item from over the last decade seems to send out their fundraising and marketing emails with more precision than the Department of Homeland Security has been double checking emails to send out notices of deportation. The Boston Globe article goes on to say, people who entered the country using CPB-1 were following the rules. Now, having given all their personal information to the government, they're being told to self-deport. It is terrifying for people to get a letter like this, Thielman said. They followed all the rules, did everything they were supposed to do, reported whereabouts and location to the government, and now they're getting punished for it. Yeah, of course that's fucking terrifying, particularly for people here under this program. Just imagine finally being granted some relief and safety or security or necessary medical assistance, and then having it ripped away without any kind of warning when you've done everything you've been asked to do because of the whims of other individuals who probably have no fucking idea what it's like to actually suffer in this way that people granted humanitarian parole, I have to assume, have been suffering. So the Boston Globe article goes on. On Thursday, a federal judge in Boston issued a stay blocking the administration from ending the humanitarian parole program. Megan Clute, a Massachusetts immigration attorney, described the letters as a way to pressure people to leave the country without going through the courts. If you want them to leave and you can't deport them, the only other option is to try and scare them away. They're just hoping that all of these individuals who they don't want to stay here for what reason exactly, I don't know, just leave of their own accord because they are terrified of what will happen to them if they stay. And I'm going to guess that anyone who received these notices is being given the same 7 days to leave the country that Mitt Romney was. I would not be able to even leave my apartment in New York City with 7 days notice, let alone leave the entire country. I don't know how anyone could possibly be expected to actually comply with that. I assume they're just being given, a week so that they don't have time to attain any kind of legal representation or have, any other organizations get involved before they just flee. Again, in the Boston Globe article, they go on to say, Mitch Romney, who has practiced immigration law for 12 years, said she had never before seen immigration parole terminated by email. It is one of the many rapid changes in how immigration cases are being handled by DHS under Trump. She says she's not worried about the email affecting her personally, given that it was not intended for her, but she is concerned for her clients and other immigrants who are increasingly afraid that they will be targeted next. It's meant to be an intimidation tactic to get people to leave the country, Mitch Romney said. In some ways, I don't think they really care who they reach as long as the message is being received. That sounds right. It sounds like the message here is, in fact, being received. And it's not just emails that they have been being careless of. It was also reported today that the State Department found no evidence of anti-Semitic or terrorist activity in the case of Rumeysa Ozturk, the Tufts University grad student, also in Boston, who was filmed being grabbed off the street and detained by plainclothes ICE agents on March 25th. So in the Washington Post article that I'm going to share with you guys, so in this article, they say, days before masked immigration and customs enforcement agents detained Tufts University student Rumeysa Ozturk to deport her, the State Department determined that the Trump administration had not produced any evidence showing that she engaged in anti-Semitic activities or made public statements supporting a terrorist organization as the government had alleged. The finding, contained in a March memo that was described to the Washington Post, said Secretary of State Marco Rubio did not have sufficient grounds for revoking Ozturk's visa under an authority empowering the top U.S. diplomat to safeguard the foreign policy interests of the United States. The memo, written by an officer within the State Department, raises doubts about the public accusations made by the Trump administration as it has sought to justify Ozturk's deportation. The Department of Homeland Security has said Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a U.S.-designated terrorist organization, but neither that agency nor U.S. prosecutors have provided evidence for that claim. The only sort of evidence that they have against Ozturk, a 30-year-old doctoral student from Turkey who is again was studying at Tufts University, is an op-ed that she wrote last year in a student newspaper associated with Tufts University, in which she criticized the university's response to the genocide in Gaza. And apparently that was enough. And like Mitch Roney said, this is all to create a culture of fear against speaking out against U.S. policy. They don't want students speaking out against a genocide perpetrated by their friends in Israel, and they don't want immigrants or loved ones of immigrants criticizing inhumane, illegal immigration policy. So, so much for bringing back free speech in this country by this administration. Apparently, that free speech is reserved only for those who agree with Trump and these sort of bootlickers that he surrounded himself with. And if you don't feel shitty enough already, Andre Romero, the Venezuelan makeup artist who was sent to the El Salvadoran prison, the Trump administration is effectively using to just disappear migrants without due process, who was sent there under the false pretense that he had gang ties, was photographed crying as he had his head shaved by guards about a day ago. So here's the photo of Andre Romero. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about this. It's all kind of horrible beyond words. I'm not showing that to you to be sensational or clickbaity. It's a real thing that's happening to an innocent person who wanted to start a better life here in the US. This is apparently a thing of the past, as there doesn't seem to be any good life to be had here for any of us in this moment. And unless working people band together to fight back, clearly the administration has shown that this cruelty has no bounds. And being a citizen of this country is not the protection against that cruelty that it once might have been. So we will be staying on all of these stories. Please, if you can, like, follow, and subscribe to Status Coup News for more updates on all of this. And if you can, please do consider becoming a paid member for as little as $5 a month so we can continue to bring you reporting that matters to working people. So I will see you guys very soon in the next one. Bye.